responsibility for their future. And we understand that this is not a common conversation. We are fully aware of the fact that this is not part of the typical dialogue that takes place across the region. But we're saying we're going to start that dialogue. We're going to ask the hard questions. We're going to confront the issues that nobody confronts right now. And in the first instance, we expect people to win, some people to withdraw. But we know that we will find, as we have already found, people of like mind, people of like interest, people of similar values, people who have an interest that goes beyond their technical capability, who want to see this dream of an ICT future realized in practical terms. And so the first objective is to reach those people. And they're not many, and they don't have to be many. So we're not looking for them to come by the dozens or by the scores or by the hundreds. But we know when we find them, they can go and bring in the dozens, and they can go and bring in the scores, and they can ultimately bring in the hundreds. And that's what we need to start with. A few committed, faithful, determined men, women, practitioners in the industry, people. When I say men, in the engineering sense. So if you have any, I said it. No, I saw some. I meant it in the most general sense. People, committed people. What about that? But you get the point. The point is they exist, and the point is we are going to actively pursue them. And we believe that when they find their own place of relevance in this context, inside of this forum, they become the champions on the ground in St. Martin, in Montserrat, in Antigua, in Barbados. And so this thing is not just the burden of a small singular group, but it becomes a really collective burden. And that's the strategy. It is recognizing the very real issues that exist in the region, the fact that there is not a culture of sharing, there is not an ethos of collaboration, and that those things have to be carefully and deliberately constructed. And that's what we're about.
Well, I'd like to add another dimension, because Gary made another observation that we do not participate in forums like CTEL, ITU study groups and things like that. But for us to meaningfully participate in those groups, we have to begin the collaboration among ourselves. So we can forge a common solution, a common position on these issues. Otherwise, it becomes a disparate effort. Single countries going, representing their own interests, and maybe to the detriment of the other countries in the Caribbean. So the first imperative is we've got to learn to collaborate among ourselves, to determine what is in our best interests before we can effectively collaborate in those groups.
And that's what I think, Gary, the examples that you pointed out actually they're not fair in this context. In that, in all of those instances, you're talking about institutions that were forged outside of the groups that it's trying to attract. And what we're trying to do here is say, from this community will come a forum for this community. And that's different. That's a fundamentally different starting point. From this community.
Yeah, I understand what I'm saying. That regionally, we do have regional groups, regional working groups of ITU, regional working groups of CTEL within the region, that we within the region ourselves don't attend to come up with those.
I think we had a room for we all of our lifetimes.
To come up with those, harmonized
yes.
points that which we can then take to the larger community to discuss and raise as an issue for the region. But yet we don't do that at that forum. We don't get together regionally to do that, to take it to the regional forum, outside of the region, to the bigger forum.
Keep your eye on the space, it will be different.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So I'm optimistic about seeing this work, and I would like to, just really see this move forward.
Johnny? Yeah, just to add that that's one part of it, but a really big part of it, in fact, probably the primary one, is things like best practice, and it's real practical sort of advice and practical training at these things, which is the sort of thing you don't get out of the ITU, you don't get out of standards bodies and that sort of thing, right? And to give some examples, I've done the routing workshop many times now, and had people there just earlier this year, went through some V6 specific bits. He came in the next morning and said, wow, that was actually easy.